thankful for her way these stories. Hold on to the lifetime we won't get back. I know these rivers carry on. People tend to stick to you after time. Places tend to do the same as we do. This river carries on and on.
Yo, top of the morning. This is Kent, the library guy, Wade, and I am taking over the Kankakee Podcast. It's not really a takeover, but Jake has allowed me to guest host this thing, and it's a very special opportunity. And so for those who don't know who I am, again, I am Kent, the library guy, Wade. Kent Wade before the library guy, and I grew up here in Kankakee from the age of 15 years old. I'm now 35. Don't tell everybody that, all right? But now as I sit in this chair, I am a resident. I'm a board member on many different boards. I'm a father. I'm a parent here in the school district. I'm a husband of an entrepreneur who works within the city. And I myself not only have worked at the Kankakee Public Library, but the Kankakee Community College. So it's only right that Kent Wade is co-hosting the Kankakee Podcast. We're here for a very, very special topic. Now, me and Jake, we sat down, and if you don't know, we are good friends, and we met doing dad jokes. Don't worry. There will not be any dad jokes today. But as we were talking over breakfast one time, we were asking each other, he asked me a very serious question, and it was about Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a holiday that is a federal holiday that was made last year by the president, Joe Biden. And this federal holiday, Juneteenth, was a new celebration this year for a lot of people. Last year, we had COVID and a lot of things that kept us from being outside, being around each other, and finding a way to embrace each other. But going into 2022, there have been many people who have been dedicated to ensure that the education, the renewing, and the focusing of moving forward through the federal holiday of Juneteenth is something that we all have to take a part of. Now, Jake said, hey, Kent, I don't know much about Juneteenth, and I really don't want to seem wrong for asking this, but how do you feel about guest hosting and making sure that our city, our community, our county knows what Juneteenth is? So before we dive into this thing, I got to give Jake a salute because not many people are willing to be advocates and supporters by relinquishing control of their platforms to someone else to educate the world about something they may not be privy to. So with that being said, Juneteenth is not just a federal holiday, but it is a recognition of emancipation. Emancipation from the form of slavery, American slavery. Now, for those who don't know, June 19th, which is the actual celebration of Juneteenth, started in Galveston, Texas. Now, before it became federal, it started in a very small town. Why this town? Because Galveston, Texas was the place in which there was a plantation still operating with slaves 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. If you're not familiar with that document, it is when Abraham Lincoln signed in January 1st of 1863 that the slaves had to be free. It was no longer possible to own slaves. Now, many people in the South listened. Again, there was no social media. There was no way to tweet this thing. There was no live for the president to do. So in order for word to travel, it took everyday human beings. It took our law enforcement. It took our military people to get around the country. 2.5 years after being emancipated. All right. Now, the Civil War did not end until April 1865. That's still 2 years after the document was signed. I wasn't there, so I really can't give you the firsthand events. But from my mentor, Dr. Leonard Porter, he will tell you that this fight for freedom that came on this soil for African American slaves took a very long time to get done. Now, on June 19th, there was a General Gordon Ganger who came from the United States government into Galveston, and he made the proclamation to let them know that slavery was no longer allowed, and those slaves had to be free. Now, I know what you're thinking. after slavery, there came all sorts of indecent things. Indentured servants, it came with sharecropping, Jim Crow, redlining. Many different things have taken place since that moment in which the Black American can say, I don't think we have ever been free. But I really want to focus on the word of emancipation. That is the process of beginning to form freedom. It's not a one overnight process. It is an ongoing process. And in doing so, we have to acknowledge Juneteenth as a starting point to turn the narrative when it comes to the history of Black Americans. Now, I can have this conversation with you and I can give you the Kent Wade perspective. But today I got a very, very special guest that's with us, someone I would like to call a friend. Even deeper than that, he's a colleague, a brother, he's a father, he's a husband, and he also is from the city of Kankakee. Put your hands together for my boy, Keep It Smooth. What's going on, man?
Man, I'm trying to keep it smooth on a half shell. How you holding up, bro?
Listen, man, I'm doing good as a turtle in a turtleneck. I be trying to keep up with you in your colloquialism.
Hey, man, I see you, big dog. I see you.
So with that being said, man, we got my brother here. As you can see, he got his vest on. We're always working. We're always on to the next thing.
Yeah,
but
man.
with this particular conversation, again, Juneteenth, many people are like, well, what is it? You know, how do we educate? How do we share this with people? And so just to kind of kick this dialogue off, and if you don't know me or Keep It Smooth, you'll see how our conversations pan out. But for you, hearing about Juneteenth, do you remember when? Do you remember where? Do you remember the feeling that came at that particular space?
I remember the first time I really heard about Juneteenth, I was already grown, which is sad. You know what I'm saying? Because it means that the school systems and the education systems either aren't aware or aren't teaching these to inform us as youths of the truth. We just think that when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, oh, okay, since, XYZ date, since 1776, everything's been smooth. And then you find out that there's a whole holiday just for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just for the ideals of you finally being free as a people. You know what I'm saying? We hear about when Haiti was emancipated, when all these other countries were emancipated, but the knowledge of when we actually were, it means something.
Yeah.
And to be able to be grown when I finally came into it, I was super excited. Like, why haven't we been teaching this already?
Yeah.
But in the same breath, it was only so much that I knew. I just, at the time of me learning about it, I was probably 19 or 20 and had just moved up to out of state.
Okay.
Because out here, we have the Summerfest celebrations, we have the Merchant Street Fest celebrations, we have the Strawberry Fest celebrations. We have all of these festivals.
Yeah.
But there wasn't anything back then to celebrate and commemorate Juneteenth the way it is today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to learn about it, to be able to have something to experience like that, man, it was insane.
Yeah.
To be able to have something like we see that everybody else has their Independence Day and the day of their reckoning, you know what I mean? But to recognize as a Black American, to have something that recognizes with Black America, it really registered. It really, you know what I'm saying, rang for a while.
Yeah. And I like what you said about, feeling like there is finally a celebration for myself. And again, for those who are not familiar with Juneteenth, like I didn't learn about it until I went to college. So there's this idea like, why did I not know this? Where was this information? I was adopted. My mother was from the South, from Mississippi, but she didn't know. So if you don't know, how can you teach something you don't know?
Exactly.
And so 4th of July was always, that was independence. Until you start learning. And then it's like you said, in school, we learned about it. In Illinois, you got to learn the Illinois Information Constitution, and you got to learn the federal Constitution in order to get out of 8th grade and out of high school. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was law. And so, when you think about, first of all, Black history, it begins being taught that it was slavery.
Right.
So again, putting this in proper context, as young Black boys, and you're biracial, we'll definitely touch on this because Juneteenth is a American holiday. This is American holiday,
right?
But like you said, to not see ourselves be free until Abraham Lincoln said we were free, and then it's okay, we're now free, and then to understand that 2 years later there were people still in chains.
Exactly.
It makes you lose faith. It made me. I'll say that it made me.
It made you question.
It made me
when
question.
Were we actually free?
When was I free? Do I even matter? Because we also know about Jim Crow. We also know about redlining, not being too far from Chicago. We know about interracial marriage and the situations of being able to marry the person you love. And so to see this is like, okay, this is another little Band-Aid that people don't care about. And so again, just to kind of bring it back, Galveston, Texas, though, has been celebrating Juneteenth. And so for those who are asking, well, how do you celebrate? How do Black people celebrate? Or how do cities celebrate? In Galveston, Texas, when the slaves were first free, they were in the land that they were on, there were strawberries. It was, patches. It was was watermelon everywhere, where they lived. So they took advantage and had a festival. They had fun. They ate, they drank, they had music. Of course, Christianity, primary religion in America, especially at that time, they had worship services. They prayed. And so that was the beginning of celebrating this freedom, okay? And I use that in quotations. Freedom, you no longer are considered slaves, because later that year, they ratified the 13th Amendment, December 6, 1865, that neither slave or involuntary servitude shall exist with the United States or any place or subject in its jurisdiction, So there was moves made from this that we can celebrate. Right. So they ate, they drank, they were married.
Come on, man.
So that's how they celebrated. Celebrating in 2022, for a lot of people who don't even know what they're celebrating, how have you incorporating celebrating Juneteenth with you learning as an adult? Did you initially take it in?
When I first heard about Juneteenth, in true form, any reason we have to celebrate and enjoy and relax and have fun, we're looking forward to it. Right, we can't wait, especially one with our names on it, you know what I'm saying, with our ethnicity tied to it. I have actually been blessed to perform at numerous different Juneteenth events, especially being here in Kankakee, being a local, born and raised. Okay. It really means a lot to be able to stand on a platform here at home, especially during a time like that, and uplift us as a people. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, I'm biracial, so I'm able to see things from both sides. And see how important this is for us as a people to celebrate it, but how important it is for us to understand it. You know what I'm saying? For us to give an understanding on it, to educate on it. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, it shouldn't just be Black America, African Americans celebrating Juneteenth. You know what I'm saying? I would educate on the facts of it. I would educate on, yes, this was the day the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, and this is the day that the last slave was turned free, because the information finally made it to that part of the country at that time. You know what I'm saying? Probably being one of the farthest points in the country at that time, given how the states and all of what came into play in our actual United States. Because every state was signed at a different time. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So he teaching y'all.
Texas might have been the farthest that the United States ran before you got into the Mexican territory. So to be able to educate and to be able to say, well, we signed it this day, and then finally this day it made it, we all should be rejoicing, because on the 4th of July, we all sit back and we all celebrate. We all relax. Everybody get a day off from work. Can't wait to barbecue. But Juneteenth, just because it's an African-American celebration of our full emancipation, not just partial emancipation, doesn't mean that we all can't. you know what I'm saying, we all can't celebrate.
Yeah, we want the whole enchilada.
We all deserve a right to be, hey, that's the day that it was the beginning, like you said, the beginning of the turning tide. You know what I'm saying? Because just because we were emancipated doesn't mean we were fully free. Mentally, we were still used to bonds and chains. Yeah. So then you have to deal with the mental slavery. Yeah. But at least we all can celebrate the time when we all were said, we all are free Americans.
And I have this, but in front of me, in the county of Kankakee, we have the Juneteenth Celebration Community Committee. And so what this committee does or have been doing for the last 13 years is educate the community about Juneteenth, hold celebrations for the city and the county, and we'll get to more of what's going to happen this year. But in here they have this awesome information. This is their booklet from their banquet, and it has information about Juneteenth. And there's this conversation of our journey was long and hard, and it was America's shame. It's America's biggest shame when you look at American slavery, and how the Africans, the Aboriginals, how Black people have been treated on this soil. And Black people have always wanted freedom. Africans have always wanted freedom. And so, again, way back on the ships, they brought us here. There was, attempted mutinies. There was the Underground Railroad. There were slave rebellions, uprising. And when we think about July 4th, and I'm not my 4-year-old hates fireworks. Like, if he hears one, he's crying. I mean, yeah, it's. And all my kids have done it, but he's the last of the Mohegan. But those fireworks is to replicate the sounds of war. Right. It's the replication of the battle that America fought to get its freedom from Great Britain. And so when it comes to the freedom of the African American slave, we don't teach about the fights that took place, the battles that took place in order for this to happen. Right. And this opportunity, Juneteenth Emancipation Day was what it was called originally. And the flag, the Juneteenth flag, is red, white, and blue. And it's there's a giant leaf, I believe. Dr. Porter, shout out to Dr. Leonard Porter. Shout out to the Juneteenth Celebration Committee. Because they've taught a lot of this to help me get to where I'm at with it. But the flag was, again, had America's colors, everything, because we believe this is our country too. We're meant to belong here. Right. And so in that celebration, taking away all the shame, the ugliness, when we talk about our history, when we talk about Black history, it's bondage, change, murders, lynchings, and then it's like that's all we talk about. And then the subtle freedoms here and there, that mentally beats you up. It makes you feel defeated before you even had a chance. And so I love what they put here that Juneteenth should be celebrated because it's the spirit of freedom. It's the spirit of giving somebody liberation. Right. And America already believes that people should be liberated. Other countries should be liberated from tyranny and other things. So this is an American holiday because it not only happened on the soil, but it allows us to connect and change the narrative. So I just love that part in here. So
I can't get this joke out of my head, bro, that you said the fireworks are symbolic of the war, of the sounds of war. But fireworks are usually festive and bright colors that you'd love to see, but them colors back then wasn't festive.
They wasn't festive at all.
There was some heavy times back then.
I want everybody to think about July 3rd to the 5th in your neighborhood.
Come on now.
If you're not hearing
nonstop
fireworks, M80s,
black cats, Roman candles. Come on now, bottle rockets. Oh man, look. And we're in Illinois. You can't even get that stuff from here. So you got to go.
Look, we're not here to talk about that.
Right.
But again, it's festive, but it's replication
of the war,
of that fight for freedom.
Right.
When people talk about 4th of July, freedom. When people, again, with Juneteenth, this is an awesome opportunity for us as a country to embrace each other's freedoms. You know, tomorrow's June 1st. And, you know, we're celebrating many different holidays, many different months. I think it's Pride Month, June 1st, I believe, or is that July 1st? June 1st. Shout out to the engineer. Man, shout out to engineers. They keep you going. And so as we're celebrating each other, I can't come to your birthday and celebrate your birthday the way I want to celebrate my birthday. Does that make sense?
Word. That makes sense.
It's your birthday.
So I got to celebrate it.
So how do you want us to celebrate your birthday? What will help you on your birthday? And why are we celebrating this? Because it's your birth. So with Juneteenth, it gives us opportunity to not just stay in February where it's safe, where we can actually talk about, okay, in order for us to be able to, in order for two Black guys to co-host a white guy's podcast in 2022, it took some battles.
Come on now.
It took some fights. It took some scarring. It took the Underground Railroad itself. People put their families on the line. There's on their barns, different ways so that slaves could be free. We got it. There's pride in this. And like you said, it's not just singular for Black people. And I learned that recently. So I appreciate you for sharing that, because it ain't just for me.
Come on now.
But when you're repairing, when you're hurt, I need to focus on my relief right now.
No doubt.
So can you speak more about that biracial piece? Because we already have enough things dividing us. It's about bringing us together.
Right.
And we've already explained it. The celebration of a plantation that was finally awarded the knowledge that this document existed and you could no longer be held as slaves, has turned into a celebration for Black Americans to feel that freedom on this land. For those who may not resonate with July 4th, take us further, and again, that biracial piece.
And see, what you were speaking on with the division, I wrote a whole piece on how it's really the division that keeps us at odds, and people fanning the division instead of fanning the fires of education, of knowledge, of teaching, so that we all can be made aware and have a better understanding. Because with the better understanding, I can relate to how you feel. I can be empathetic if I understand where you come from and what makes you feel the way you feel. But without understanding, then it just looks like y'all over there being loud, or y'all over there, you know what I'm saying? As a biracial person, you know what I'm saying? My whole life, I've never missed the 4th of July. It's all every year. We're going to Beckman Park or Bird Park. We're going to sit on the water. We're going to watch the fireworks go up. But if you're lucky, you're going to go across the water to KCC and be closer to the booms. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Who does that?
As a child, as I got older and them ears get more sensitive, and then you got to deal with screaming babies, it's like, you know what, we're going to stay at a distance.
Right.
That way we can load y'all up in the car faster. I'm not even trying to park in the parking lot. I want to park far enough away, y'all can still see it.
The baseball
but as soon as that barrage go up, like, all right, no, that was the end. We finna leave. That way we don't get caught up in traffic.
Right.
But I've never missed the 4th of July.
Right.
Juneteenth I wasn't made even aware of until I was a grown man. So it's like, a part of you feels like there was so much I missed out on.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a ignorant youth, you only know, oh, this is Black people's holiday. We celebrate this because this was the day, but nobody goes into detail. Nobody gives context. Everybody just, oh man, this is our holiday. Like they got Cinco de Mayo, like they got 4th of July, like they got whatever. Yeah. But it's like, you still can't really celebrate anything without fully understanding it. Because then what do you celebrate? You know what I'm saying? I can go in on a whole nother subject, especially as a Christian, on subjects that would be controversial. But it's like, if you don't have a full understanding of this, why are you celebrating?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you posted about Cinco de Mayo. Like, what are you celebrating?
Right.
Do you even, what is Cinco de Mayo to you? And then so many people get on here and they don't even know what it's about or why it's celebrated, and to even know that the people we think celebrate it don't really even celebrate it like that. You know what I'm saying? So what are we doing? We're looking for any reason to celebrate? Are we trying to really look into our heritage and find out what the real days we're supposed to be celebrating are? And what are we teaching our youth? Because if we just passing on routines and rituals, but not tradition, then the heritage gets lost. If we just passing on this day we do this, on that day we do that. Don't worry about why. Just know on this day we do this, on this day we do that. But they have no understanding. Then you lose the value of the tradition. You just have routine. And even on the spiritual level, nothing is supposed to be routine or ritualistic. It's supposed to be heartfelt. It's supposed to be pure with a full understanding. So on the Juneteenth, like as I got older to get a better understanding, now I hold it more closer to my heart.
Yeah.
Now it's something I write pieces specifically for. You know what I'm saying? Like the piece I was talking about earlier about the division. That's a piece.
What's a piece? For those of our audience, I don't think we gave you a real proper introduction.
Right. Well,
that's just how we talk. We just get to
just dive in and expect you to know me, and I'm not a celebrity by a long shot.
My
name, like bro said, I'm not.
You were a special guest, bro. I mean, you got to take that as you're a celebrity.
Amen.
Nobody's
amen.
And I'm not going to argue. Guest.
Is you a celebrity? This local guy is the celebrity.
I'm a celebrity. I'm a celebrity. I wouldn't guess a non-celebrity. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
As a local born and raised, you know what I'm saying? As a spoken word artist, an accomplished spoken word artist, singer, songwriter, rapper, event consultant, host, showcase coordinator, executive producer in some realms, depending on if I got full control of the show. It's a blessing to be able to it's a blessing to be able to do what I do. A piece means a spoken word piece, something that I would perform over a small amount of time that's fully scripted, but it's heartfelt. You know what I'm saying? It's a spoken word poem. It's a spoken word. I don't want to call spoken word a poem because it's a difference between spoken word and poetry. But for those who are in the, you know what I'm saying, lieu of the differences, then it would just be a piece is an up-to-date poem. Something that I would perform off the top of my head, that I've memorized, that I've worked on, that I've cultivated. And the piece that I'm bringing up in particular is a piece entitled Fighting Myself. Like you said, I'm biracial, so I recognize with both the Black and the white community. So there are times where I feel my Black impulses, and there are times where I feel my white impulses, where I can't wait to go play a game of spades, or where I can be outside in the cold without a jacket on and everybody's looking at me sideways. So
because you're biracial, bro, I don't know if I should laugh at that or.
Hey, the engineer is laughing, so we're winning, bro. he immediately related when I said outside in the cold, anything.
And I felt the spades. I did feel the spades.
Come on now. So that's what I'm saying. I'm able to recognize both sides, and that's what that piece was about. Speaking on the division from both sides. I introduced it as somebody who's biracial, and the same battles we see with race in the courtroom, and the same battle we see with race in the live videos with police interaction. I recognize both
everywhere.
sides.
Libraries.
You know what I'm saying?
Classrooms, everywhere.
So that dialogue I was able to create, but speaking to myself, I can hit myself in the gut and be real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, talk about corrupt politicians, talk about the no snitching policy in the hood, talk about how we would rather be riding, bumping, and kicking it versus talking about answering to the things that we're saying we're in need of. You know what I'm saying? Like addressing things from both sides. But then at the end of the day, it's really the fact that the division keeps getting fueled. That's the problem.
Right.
Because we see people on both sides that want to come together.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people who's invested in that division who keep fanning the flames of the division so that we can stay at odds with one another.
Perfect. That's a perfect conversation because slavery did not end when Juneteenth took place. I'm going to say it again. Slavery did not technically end, okay? There still were ratifications. There were still loopholes. And then even after that, you get into sharecropping, where people who were free from slavery, it was no longer illegal to own you as slaves. So the land that you technically live on is mine. So what I'm gonna do is charge you for living, charge you to do this, let you work the land, sell what you can sell, but then when you sell it, I take the money back. And so this conversation, like you said, there's corporations who pay for division. There are people who are invested in Juneteenth to create their own agenda.
Exactly.
So again, this conversation is about emancipation, beginning to free ourselves, and in that freedom, embrace those who want to be free and those who want to continue the division. And so there is a conversation, and we'll, after this, we'll share what updates we got going on in the city of Kankakee. The word I like to use is empowerment and hope when I think about Juneteenth, when I think what's taking place. Having shared the history of Juneteenth, having shared, and I love you brought up my Facebook post about Cinco de Mayo. But many people were not happy with me about that. And I just asked the question. I never pointed fingers. I learned a lot too. And again, Cinco de Mayo for me, because I had that gut punch, when I thought about it, when it came up, was tacos and tequila. Like, this is what I'm going to do.
We're just going to kick it. There's a reason they're partying, we're going to party.
That's it. We're here to celebrate. I'm celebrating you. Until I got to college, and then I started getting challenged by meeting my peers in different settings. So when you go to work and you engage your coworkers, when you're at the store and you have relatable incidents, I wait tables at Red Lobster. When I'm talking to my guests at the table, you get to feel people. We're different.
Right.
We're different, but you get to feel people. And when they tell their story, you're like, I never thought about it like that. And so having Latinx friends, Mexican friends, family, people I call family, I had to ask. And when I found out that it's like Juneteenth. Cinco de Mayo celebrated in a small little city in Mexico that won a battle, force the opposition out, and they celebrated. All of Mexico doesn't celebrate that
day of independence.
That day of independence, or not even a day of independence, a day of fighting off. They won that battle. And so for us, Galveston, Texas, those individuals, I'm gonna stop using the word slave. Those people were able to hear, hey, the president said you're free. And can you imagine the liberation for some of them?
Come on, man.
There was fear for others, because like, what do I do now? Because I don't have access to land. There was no access like we have now.
Right.
Now you're just free with nothing to gain, because you can't go nowhere and get jobs, because of the circumstance. But there was hope. There was hope for somebody in that city.
Man, come on, man.
That began to spread to the next city, and the next city. And that hope gets us to where we're at now. And so for a lot of people, for a lot of elders who saw this become a federal holiday, they got hope. And they're passing down their hope from their fight through the crack epidemic, through losing industrial jobs, through what we're going through now, currently, within the Black community and the community of America.
Right.
And the issue of racism that we still have systematically. So, with that hope, with that empowerment, it's to say, hey, we can go further. It's happening, but we can't take our foot off the gas. We have to keep having moments like this where we're going to inform, we're going to educate, and we're going to revitalize that fight. And so, like I said, Juneteenth, the Galveston, Texas, they create their own flag. There is the Pan-African flag. Are you familiar with the Pan-African flag?
No, what's that, bro?
So the Pan-African flag is red, black, and green.
Okay.
And so each one of those colors has representation.
Right.
And salute to Father Marcus Garvey, who, again, man, a phenomenal speaker, change agent, and he was a leader for unifying all of the people from Africa. Because Africa has always been thought of as like this small little country that people, it was a continent. And so with being everywhere, you should be able to have that recognition, that connection. And so The Pan-African flag has red for the blood
right,
of the people that have been spilled. The black is for the skin of the people, represent
and
the people.
green for the earth, right?
And the green is for the earth, the land. And so that's also something that's celebrated because, you know, again, you have to have representation. Representation matters. I've been through therapists most of my life, but as a father, as a community member, as somebody who works with youth on every aspect, I needed a black man therapist. I needed to talk about how can I navigate this world as a black man. And there's no shade to anybody else. I've had therapists who've been awesome, great people in my life. But I have trauma as a black man that I need to deal with so I can get out into America and leave it better than I found it.
Right.
You know? So, man, on some final thoughts with you as far as hope and empowerment. As an artist, as a producer, you have, please share all your platforms as well. What final thoughts would you leave when it comes to Juneteenth and moving forward?
The final thoughts I would leave, the first thought above all is gain a better understanding. Gain knowledge on why you're celebrating. Mm-hmm. Study this thing. Research as much as you can about Juneteenth so you have a full understanding. Not just that day, but like you said, what led up to that day, because the Emancipation Proclamation was signed long before that word got to Galveston, Texas.
Yeah, January 1st,
so
1863.
Do your homework. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not just another day to barbecue. It's not just another day to turn up or go play some music and kick it or get loud or expect anything. It's a day of homage, basically. It's a day of recognition. It's a day that you should sit back and reflect like, man, this day years ago was the start of where I am today. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it wasn't for that word getting, because there's no telling what happened that made it take that long. There's no telling what could have happened that would have made it take even longer.
Right.
So thank God for that day. Let's take the time to educate ourselves. Mm-hmm. That way we can pass down the knowledge of the tradition to our children versus pass down the routine of habit.
Right.
You just know every June 19th, we finna do this. It don't matter what day that fall on, June 19th, we finna, understand why.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And get to the root and to the core of that
Don't
thing.
come just dressed in
Man, don't just show
black,
up with the
red.
Man, with a 12-pack and you ready to kick it. No, fam, it's more than that. You know what I'm saying? You want to show up with a bottle and some beer. No, it's more than that. It's recognition of where we were at that point, and then where we are today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How free we are compared to then.
Yeah.
How many milestones, how many hurdles, how many obstacles had to be overseen for us to even be able to be on this podcast today like this.
Facts. In the city of Kankakee.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that would be my biggest takeaway is educate yourself. You know what I'm saying? On on your roots, on your heritage.
Yeah.
And what is celebrated inside of your roots through your heritage and what that means for the traditions. Keep the purity of the traditions alive.
Yeah.
Don't just pass down rituals and routines because, man, you'll get me started on Easter. You'll get me started on Christmas, man. We'll get started on a whole deep dive on some other stuff, bro.
We're going
to keep it one holiday. Right. If he ever do it, hey, let's talk about those things. Bring me back. But for the subject that we on, educate yourself. You know what I'm saying? And for my platforms, if you are interested, or even an entertainer or a patron of the arts, somebody just likes to hear live performing, man, feel free to come for free to the Kankakee Public Library.
That's my word.
Every first Wednesday, and our next one is tomorrow, June 1st, at the Kankakee Public Library from 6 to 8 p.m. in the 4th floor auditorium. It's a live open mic. It's free to the public. It's clean entertainment, so you don't even need a babysitter. You can bring them little ones with you. If they get too loud, we got a gallery in the back. I can put on some Cocoa Melon or something. It works every time.
Our kids more likely might be back there.
My kids gonna definitely be running the daycare. But if you got little ones, man, we put on that Cocoa Melon Baby Sharks. It's a whole new world,
It's
Jack.
a whole new world.
I'm telling you, we can get back to enjoying the show, and they're gonna stay right there in that pocket in front of the TV.
What about your social media outlets?
Social media, you can find me on Facebook and YouTube at Keep It Smooth. Those are my fan pages. I also have my personal page, Darnell Davis Jr., but it's a good chance you have a better shot at following me than becoming friends. I'm usually somewhere around that 5,000 friend marker. I can't add too many more, but I'm always down for a follow, and I keep everybody posted. If you want to follow me on TikTok or Instagram, it's The Keep It Smooth. And we on there posting pretty regularly. You know what I'm saying? You was in one of my most recent TikToks, and we had a blast. We won't get on that subject because it definitely has nothing to do with Juneteenth. But man, if you want to follow me,
this year it does. Go ahead, tell them. You tell them, and I'll tell them. I'll tell them why. That's a perfect segue.
The Keep It Smooth on Facebook. I mean, on TikTok and Instagram. Keep It Smooth on Facebook and YouTube and Snapchat. And you should tell them about what.
So when you said the most recent TikTok that we did together has nothing to do with Juneteenth.
It doesn't.
It does.
I'm listening.
Because Juneteenth falls on Father's Day this year. June 19th is on Father's Day, which is a Sunday. And the most recent TikTok that we did, we really talked about fatherhood.
That's the way to word it.
That's the way to word it. That's the way to word it.
And
he has 5 kids. I have 4 kids. So we had a very candid father conversation. So with that update and that segue, here in the county of Kankakee, the Juneteenth I gotta look at my notes. I don't try to butcher stuff. Juneteenth Celebration Community Committee will be having a week-long event. Events every day. There'll be something. They've done this for the last since I can remember, at least 10 years. But I started getting involved real actively 6 years ago, and then really getting involved the last 2 years. But on Monday, June 13th, there will be a lunch and learn at the Kankakee Public Library. Okay, more information, you can find them on their social media, their Facebook page, the Juneteenth Celebration Committee. Juneteenth Celebration Community Committee. Man, it would be like, Ken, what?
Man, y'all give me these tongue twisters and then get mad at me because, man, look.
Listen. But see, that's the beauty of shaking fear. I don't have the shirt on, but that's the beauty of shaking fear is that, you'll take the risk. So we have a lunch and learn. We'll have speakers, presenters. We have some people that's going to educate on Juneteenth. There's going to be people educating on life insurance, health, auto insurance, just many different things within the Black community to help protect and engage and educate. It's all about education. You said it perfectly.
Come on now.
Educate yourself. And access is something that a lot of people did not have in 1865, 1863, which is why they were somewhat in the position that they were in. And so now that we have access, we have to take advantage. Tuesday will be Flag Day. Dr. Leonard Porter will be having a conversation around the Juneteenth flag, the history. He's actually been to Galveston. Really wanted him to be on here, and he will definitely be here. He definitely is coming. But he'll talk about the Juneteenth flag. He'll talk about the Pan-African flag, and he'll talk about the American flag as well. Because Marcus Garvey's conversation was, you're America. He was Jamaican. You are, where you're from, but there's that African connection. When you have a connection, you're able to go further when you're connected with something. And the African slave, the Black American, had everything taken away from them. Marriage, religion, everything, and was taught new things. And so they're going to talk about Flag Day. On Wednesday, the Kankakee Public Library will be doing a read and craft with the kids. So they'll be creating Pan-African flags. It represents African, Pan-African, meaning across the globe. Everyone connected to the continent of Africa. They're going to do a reading. That night, there will be not a Bible study, but it'll be like a worship service, a prayer meeting. Again, connecting to the roots of what started Juneteenth is still connected. That will be in Hopkins Park. On Thursday, there'll be an event at the public library called Black to Business. The Black Pages, shout out to the Black Pages.
Shout out.
Very special shout out to the Black Pages. And the ECDA, I always get the C and the D mixed up.
I'm working the building with them, so it's like I can't
get them.
Y'all back at it. Word.
The ECDA, the Black Chamber as well of Commerce of the better Kankakee area, and the Kankakee Public Library has partnered to bring it's a super Black network event. So you have Black businesses, Black entrepreneurs who will be there, even people from the ECDA. They have individuals who will be speaking about what Black businesses can take advantage of with everything out there. There's a lot of opportunities right now for small businesses, a lot of opportunities for housing. But if you don't have the information, how can you get it? So it's very intentional to bring awareness to the Black community. Friday, Kankakee School District is having a Youth Palooza at the Pioneer Park all day, kicking it. They got music, they got fun, they got games. There will be, as far as I know, a talent show as well. Again, celebrating Juneteenth, celebrating the emancipation, and again, furthering the education and the progress. And last but not least, well, actually not last, the festival, Freedom Fest, will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m. There'll be a parade. So if you have an awesome decked out car and want to be in a parade, get in contact with the Juneteenth Council, a committee. You can get situated. But there'll be a parade to Pioneer Park where it'll be an all-day festivity again. This will be family-friendly.
If I could get some Heelys, would they let me? No, go ahead, bro.
If you got some Heelys.
I get some Heelys and then, black and red, then put the logo on the side.
If
you
Heelyd from the Paramount movie theater up Schuyler to Court Street.
That's
down
uphill, first off.
That is.
It's some super Helium.
Helium. It's like a new alien. You're all the way down Court Street, then the Hobby, and then you go down the hill. So that'd be nice.
That's just cruising down the hill.
But
that's
then it's that railroad track that you...
That's when you get to do the ollie and kick your feet up.
Just make sure you call your wife and let her know what you're doing so she can have preparation. But it's going to be an all-day festivity out there. It's in the past, we've actually, since I want to say COVID 2020, there's been collaborations to create even more of an impact. But it's a free food, fun, vendors. Bring your chairs, people. There's it's so much fun.
Live performing, come on,
live performing, and I'm putting this in the atmosphere. There will be fireworks this year for Juneteenth. Okay, we are in the process of making that happen.
Come on,
if not this year, guaranteed next year. Last but not least, the last and final event. Everything is free all week. Everything is free. The last event is on Father's Day. The banquet that they do every year. They do a banquet outside of COVID, the last 2 years. They do a banquet and they honor Black entrepreneurs, professionals, healthcare, political individuals, and community people. This year, they're celebrating Black fathers. So they're selling tickets, $30 a ticket. If you're able to go, please, you can contact me because I have tickets for sale. $30. Everything that week is free. If you want more information, you can just follow the Juneteenth Celebration Community Committee on Facebook. I know, man. So long.
The flipping of the book, bro. You should have just hit them with the acronym. Like the Juneteenth, flip it over.
The JCCCC. JCCC.
The JC3. It's
JCQ.
Because JC3. JC3. Like that. You can follow the JC3 at just
on
so
Facebook.
You know what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah. But see,
it ain't gonna be called the JC3, but if you think about it, you know what I mean when I say the JC3. So we on the same page. You follow the live back to the beginning.
I was practicing.
You'll hear it said every time.
I was practicing this, and I really didn't need the flip when I was practicing. But then once I got here, nerves get to.
Oh yeah, man.
So it's like I don't want to be wrong. Because I'll switch up names real quick.
Oh man, look.
Long, like I said, the EDCA. See, I did ECDA. I don't. Hey.
And the last thing you want is people after they see it calling you like, oh, so that's how we.
But I'm used to getting in trouble though, so I'm
you represent. You're on the board and you just keep chopping the name up.
Listen,
that's why I say just give it a nickname. JC3.
I'm gonna work on that. But without further ado, man, we have extended our time. We just want to shout out Jake Lamore for allowing us to be on the Kankakee Podcast. Being two brothers who love Kankakee. We rep Kankakee on the front of the jersey everywhere we go. We're not from Chicago. We're from Kankakee.
Big
so whether you call it the Keys or the Kank.
No, we ain't doing that. We're not even finna start that. Look here. Y'all not from, look, if you from Kankakee and you call it the Kank, come see me. I'm gonna grab my belt. We're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix that real quick.
Yo, that has been our time. Again, Juneteenth is a celebration for America. If you claim to be an American, you claim to love freedom, you claim to love emancipation, this is a piece of that. And it's beautiful, man. I love that my children are growing up in a space that while we have to have the uncomfortable conversations of the past, I mean, how do you expect to go forward?
Exactly.
You don't have to live there. You don't have to live in that shame. What can we do moving forward? And so this is an example of how we can move forward. We have platforms, access, resources. Let's bridge those gaps and reach those audiences that we may not be able to reach with one particular voice.
Come on now, and educate along the way. Come on,
sir.
brother.
Yes, sir. So on that note, Kent the Library Guy, Wade, you can find me on all social media outlets, Facebook, Instagram. It has been an honor to go from a guest to a co-host. I'm excited. Make your best day today.
Word.
Well, that concludes this episode of Kankakee Podcast. I'm Jake Lamore. Thank you so much for listening. Please share this podcast with a family member, friend, or neighbor you think might enjoy learning new things about the people and places of Kankakee County. Also, a special thank you to our patrons for helping make this episode possible, including Jake Lee, Jesse Arsenal, Dave Barron, Daryl Damper, Samantha Rocknowski, Lake Iverson, Travis Garcia, Jane Bostwick, Dawn Harrison, Simon Topless, Scott Wright, Harry O'Connell, Jamie Race, Joanne Berry, Anthony Vaselli, Eric Olson, Dan DeBoard, Jeff and Rosa Carroll, Teague Dreenan, Sandy and Steve Twait, and Rose Lucky. Now, to become a podcast patron, go to KankakeePodcast.com and click on the Patron tab. If you pledge $5 or more per month, you'll also hear your name announced on an episode of Kankakee Podcast. Now, there's also other rewards like access to extended versions of episodes, behind-the-scenes podcast episodes, podcast merch, discounts on special events. There's even an option for you and I to spend a day together at the Kankakee County Museum, and so much more. Your monthly pledge is truly appreciated. And our goal right now is to reach $400 per month, which right now we're at about 60% funded. So please sign up for the patron program today at KankakeePodcast.com. Our theme song is by Lupe Carroll.